Reptiles, and today we have a really fun episode. It is a really crappy snow day here in Colorado, but that lends to being the perfect opportunity for me to just stay at home and get some reptile room chores done. As you can see behind me, I keep a lot of different reptiles and amphibians. I have 11 different species that I take care of. So chore days are really important. Most of my enclosures are set up bioactively, but there's still a lot of maintenance that goes into it, and of course feeding and spot cleaning, taking care of feeders, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna walk you through it so you can see what it's like to keep this many species and all the work that goes into it. So let's get started. So at the moment, most of my reptiles have been in and out of brumation. And right now I'm just in the kitchen getting ready to prepare a meal for my blue-tongued skink and my bearded dragon. My other bearded dragon is definitely under brumation right now. She is asleep, as asleep can be. But both my beardy and my skink have been up for the past couple of days. So I'm going to start off by just defrosting these little cubes that I have for my blue-tongued skink. And I even have an herbivore one for the beardy. I generally feed a lot of fresh vegetables, but because they've been ruminating and not eating very much, I just keep these on hand that I defrost for them as well. They have plenty of veggies in them, lots and lots of greens, and then some supplements as well. For the skink food, it's just a mixture of dog food, turkey, fruit, veggies, that good stuff. Okay, so another thing I make sure to do as far as prepping before I get rolling with my chores is just to make sure all of my reptile safe water is prepped. So I like to fill up my spray canister and just my reptile safe H2O that I keep stored in a gallon jug. I always keep these filled and on hand, ready to rock, so that I don't have to add the Repti Safe every single time. So as I'm doing my reptile room chores, I also use this as an opportunity to do a welfare check on everybody. Echo has been in shed. As you can see, he is in blue, but he is just enjoying this humidity that I just provided him. So he looks fine. I'm not going to mess with him too much today because being in shed is not a fun time for snakes. Then over here I have Zeppelin, my ball python, who is always in this rock hide. And I think he is also getting ready to go in a shed. Last time I looked at him, he was very pink, as you can see. Just look at that tone. On the white parts of him, you can really see that pink. So it's really important to make sure we have the humidity up in here. His hide is nice and moist, so that should really help him have a successful shed. I'm also not going to mess with him too much either. Down here is my blue-tongued skink Ozzy, who has been in and out of brumation. There she is. She was out basking earlier today, so I am going to offer her a little bit of food, but she does look pretty sleepy, so she may not eat. But she looks fine. I'm also not going to bother her too much. Unfortunately, winter is a very boring time with reptiles because they often brumate and just slow down in general. It's also really important to be checking temperatures every day and humidity. She's a northern blue-tongued skink, so her humidity is okay at the lower end, although I'm going to water some plants in here today, so we'll probably spike it a little bit, which will be all right. And then I also use my infrared gun just to test all her surface temperatures and make sure that those are looking okay. And that is looking perfect for a blue-tongued skink basking temperature. Okay, so next we're gonna do a little welfare check on Hendrix, my corn snake. And he's usually in one of the two hides here, so we'll find him. And there he is right there. I'm just probably gonna pull him out and see how he is looking. This can be a good time to, of course, do weights on your animals as well, but I'm just doing a little visual exam on them today. He is looking healthy. I'm just trying to look at his eyes too to see if he may be going into shed as well. He does look a bit dull. But let's see if I can get him in the camera here. He is so wiggly. And he's looking fine. I don't think he's going into shed right now. And he did just shed not too long ago. But he is a youngster, so they do shed a bit more. But he's looking awesome and being mischievous as always. So we're going to go ahead and put him back into his enclosure. And off he goes. I should also note that while I am doing this welfare check on everybody, I am collecting water bowls because we are going to scrub and clean and wash those. They're nice and fresh for everybody today. I try to scrub and clean with soap and water at least once a week. All right, next welfare check, we are doing my Woodhouse's toad, Gertrude, who has been heavily brumating, but last night she was out and she ate some insects. I think I know where she is. I'm just gonna see. Yep, she is actually right there. Let's see if I can focus and get her eye. She's right there, so we definitely don't want to bother her anymore. Let her rest. She might be back down for a while, but she is definitely okay. It was such a relief to see her last night and know that she was okay because she's been brumating for several months now. All right, next check, we are doing my white tree frogs. I'm definitely going to need to do some spot cleaning in there. They've got some dirty little spots. But yeah, as I'm going along, I should mention I am spot cleaning enclosures. However, since everybody's been brumating, there's really not much to clean up right now. And I also have everything set up bioactively. So my general weekly cleanings are pretty minimal, which is the beauty of a bioactive setup. But I'm just checking on everybody right now. There's Salad up there and her brother Popsicle. Matcha is usually extremely hard to find. I think, yep, he's back there. So we've got all three of them checked in. Looks like everybody's doing all right. Humidity's fine, temperature's fine, but they are gonna need some fresh water today, so I am gonna pull their dishes out. And obviously another thing with a bioactive enclosure, part of my weekly maintenance also is checking plants, pulling off any dead leaves, and watering, of course. So I'm gonna go ahead and give these guys a water because it looks like my pothos could definitely use it. So I just carry my trusty pitcher with me and just water my plants as I am going along and doing my chores. I also like to try and keep an eye on my cleanup crew, and as you can see, my little isopods are thriving. There's even some babies. Awesome. I just absolutely love seeing this part of my enclosures thrive. It is so exciting. All right, so now we have my pixie frog gravy in here, and I am gonna have to do a little extra maintenance with him today. I'm gonna have to add some water to his substrate and mix that around. I need to dig him up because he is burrowed down here and make sure he gets a good soak and some food today. He's still a baby, so I try to do a welfare check on him weekly. Okay, so I just have a Tupperware bowl that I filled with some slightly warmer, I guess lukewarm water with the Repti Safe. I'm gonna let him soak in this. The warmer water kind of just helps him if he needs to poop. Obviously, he's been burrowed for about a week or so right now, so I just want to make sure he's not getting constipated, which is kind of notorious for these guys. Now we get the fun part of trying to find Grady. He's probably not going to be happy when I wake him up, and I think I see him right back there. Hi, Gravy. I know. We're gonna have a little soak and then we're gonna get you some food, buddy. Oh, there he is. There is Gravy. He is the cutest little fella. I absolutely love this frog. We're gonna just plop him in there for a minute. He will hop out, so I'm just gonna kind of set this lid like that. Obviously, I don't want to close him in there completely because I still want him to get some air and breathe. And in the meantime, I am going to rehydrate this substrate, give him some clean water, and then put him back in there with some food. All right, so we are just gonna add some of our reptile safe water to our substrate. It's not too terribly dry, so I don't need to add too much right now. And then I am just going to use my hands to mix it all up. The trick with these guys is you want to make sure it's damp enough that a drop or two of water comes out, but it's not dripping wet. It's not super soggy. So I'll have to add a little bit more and then put everything back in there. All right, so I just added Gravy back into his enclosure, and of course he dirtied up his water dish right away, but that's okay. Got some clean water in there and his house is ready to go for him. Okay guys, so while I was doing chores, I noticed that Ozzy is up and very active and she needs a little bit of enrichment time. So I'm gonna get her out. I have this really cool pack and play that I put her into to give her a little bit more space to move around. She will be upgraded into a 6-foot enclosure here soon, but this girl seems to have a lot of energy today. So I'm gonna let her have a little bit of enrichment time. All right, so this is this really cool foldable like pet pack and play sort of thing that I got on Amazon that I got for Ozzy, so that when she needs a little bit of extra space until I get her upgraded, this is awesome for her. And usually I'll throw like some super worms or a couple dubia roaches in there, and then she can chase them around and it's great enrichment for her. Over here, we've got some dusted super worms and we will just throw those in there for her. She can have a good time chasing those around and getting a little snack and some movement in. Could also add some new toys in here, branches, stuff like that. This is a great way to just keep them busy and give them something new and interesting to explore. She's not the brightest, but she'll get a worm eventually. So we'll let her play in that while we finish up doing some chores. And I just noticed as I was putting Ozzy in the play area that this little girl noticed I had worms. So I better get her one or I think she's going to be a little bit upset with me. All right, so we're going to go ahead and give Lila some worms. She is about to jump out of this enclosure. So I have to coax her back in here with the worm. Come on. Here you go. I'll probably put her in that little play area after Ozzy is done as well. All right, so while we are over here with Lyle, we'll go ahead and do a little check on her as well. She's doing good. She didn't brumate this year because she's still relatively young, which is fine. She has definitely slowed down a bit though and does spend more time on her cool side, but she is still eating and pooping and otherwise doing relatively well. I don't have any spot cleaning to do in here today, but we will go ahead and take that water dish out so we can scrub and clean that. And then I'm going to water her plants as well. Down here below Lila is my other bearded dragon, Clementine, and she has been heavy in brumation. I do check on her every single day just to make sure she's okay, but she is back there hidden in her cool side, fast asleep. It's so hard. I miss her so much, but this is part of what bearded dragons do. So I have to just let her do what is natural, but I am still maintaining, the plants and stuff in her enclosure and just keeping her water dish fresh as well, for when she does wake up again. And of course, maintaining temperatures, all that good stuff. But for right now, there's not a lot that needs to be done for. And for those that don't know, brumation is essentially just hibernation for reptiles. So during this time, they generally just sleep, they go into their cool side, they don't really eat or poop. They are just asleep for usually about 3 to 4 months. Every reptile in captivity is going to be different. Just the best thing you can do is just keep an eye on them, maintain your temps, and make sure they have fresh water as well for when they maybe do wake up and need a sip. But other than that, it's a pretty boring and kind of depressing time. All right, so part of the reptile room maintenance means also taking care of my feeder bug colony. I do keep dubia roaches that I breed, so it's really important to make sure that they are getting gut loaded with some fresh vegetables. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those in there, and then I need to fill up their little water dish as well. And then when I'm not feeding them, I do like to check on them and see that they are breeding, and there's tons of little ones in there. So they are definitely breeding at the moment, which is great to see. And then I also like to add some of this Missouri Better Bug gut loading diet as well. So we're going to sprinkle that onto that little white dish there. Got to make sure these guys are eating very good and healthy because they are going to be fed out to my reptiles and in turn becoming optimal nutrition for my reptiles. Next up, we are going to do a little check on Dorito's enclosure. She is right back there. You can kind of see her hanging upside down in the back. So I'm just going to get her dirty dishes out from last night's feeding, and then check her plants. Usually I'll check the soil, which is really dry. So we definitely need to add some water and water those plants. Last but certainly not least, we are going to do a little check-in maintenance on Maynard, my ball python's enclosure. Last time I checked him, he was in shed, and he seemed like he was about to be done, so he may or may not have shed. So we'll go ahead and just check him out. There is Maynard. It looks like, yeah, he's definitely in blue right now, so he has not shed, so we're not going to bother him. We're just going to make sure that humidity is very, very strong and on point for him. I just sprayed down his hide, and I'm going to make sure he has plenty of water in his substrate right now and do a really good spray because I want to make sure his humidity is not dropping while he is deep in shed. All right, I just gave him a really good spray down and did a little spot cleaning in there as well. One thing I've noticed that is super interesting is a lot of the time my snakes will shed around the same time. It's super strange. So I have 3 snakes in shed right now, and that's usually pretty common for my snakes. So I don't know, just a weird thing to think about. All right, guys, so the final thing I'm gonna do is just do a good clean of everybody's dishes with some soap and water and scrub these guys out, redistribute their water bowls, and refill my reptile safe water as well. So these little frozen bites have defrosted. I did have a tiny bit of microgreens left in my fridge, so I put the defrosted bite on top of that, which we are going to give to Lila. She was like, "What is that? That is not bugs." Hi, sweets. You gotta eat your greens too. And then I might try to feed Ozzy in here. She's been a little bit of a picky eater lately, so I'm gonna see if I can use banana, which is her favorite, to try and eat some of these veggies. Just gonna dip it in there. Let's see if we can get her to eat some of that. Yay, we got some veggies in there. Awesome. All right, guys, well, that concludes today's episode all about my daily and weekly reptile chores. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight into what it's like on a day-to-day and weekly basis. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. I'll happily get back to you. And if you have any suggestions for other videos you'd like to see, let me know those as well. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, do it now. It helps me so much being a newbie here, and I am just so grateful for all of you for tuning in. And until next time, have a great day.